Have you ever wondered how many zeros that you would suddenly be staring at if XRP really took off? Or whether we're all just chasing digital ghosts? Well, hang tight, because what I uncovered after digging into the so-called $20 XRP millionaire math, it had me double checking my calendar and my coffee strength. Now, this might just shock you, but I'm not a financial advisor and nothing in this video is financial advice. Cryptocurrencies are highly volatile and you could lose all of the money that you invest. You should always do your own research and consult a qualified professional. Your investments are entirely your responsibility and you should know that nothing is ever guaranteed when it comes to investing. Neither I, this channel, nor YouTube are liable for any losses. And this video today is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Okay, that was a very quick disclaimer and it is all done and out of the way. The caffeine is topped up. Let's talk about the treasure maps. Right, picture me last night, curled up on the sofa with a bowl of salty popcorn, right? Scrolling through charts like a toddler flipping comic book pages. Now, the headline pops up. Here's how many new XRP millionaires will emerge if XRP reaches $20. It's a bit of a mouthful, I know, but boom, it's instant rabbit hole for me. Now, my brain does that cartoon dollar kind of sign blink, and before you know it, I'm pulling out scrap paper, the back of the envelope math, and probably frightening the cat with random gasps of no way. You see, the article drops a deceptively simple promise, right? At today's price, around $2.18 at the point of recording, every stack of 50,000 XRP would zoom to $1 million if the coin tags $20. So 50,000 sounds like a dragon's hoard until you remember that XRP traded for just 50 cents in late 2023. Early November 2024, well, a mere quarter and got you an XRP. So maybe someone who kind of scraped together 25 grand back then is technically holding a six-figure bag right now and staring at Millionaireville, just over the horizon. So you can cue the collective kind of face palm for anyone who kind of kept saying, I'll buy the dip tomorrow. Now, the analyst parade, right? You've got 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗰𝗍, Jeremy, yep, the guy, the early Bitcoin dude, the one who kind of begged people to buy BTC for less than a price of pizza slice, right? Confessing in March that he's not a fan of XRP, yet still thinks it'll clear $20. Now, when a legacy maxi, tips his hat, you kind of perk up a little bit, right? And then there's the XRP shark from mid-2024, Crypto Bull, in November, Edrino Farina a couple months ago. They're all singing the same chorus. $20 is coming, so strap in. Here, of course, is where my eyebrows hit the kind of geostationary orbit, if you will. Right, the rich list data, right? Roughly 71,000 wallets, I should say, hold 50,000 or more XRP, right? Strip out the ones that kind of already are paper millionaires at $2 plus, and we're actually staring at around 39,000 future members of the club, right? Seven figures, if $20 does indeed print. So that's 39,000. Now, that's almost the kind of seating capacity at Madison's kind of Square Gardens, all suddenly kind of drifting, drafting letters to say, I quit my 9 to 5 via email. Yet, and it's a huge yet, it's an 817% climb from where we're chilling right now at the point of recording. So it's kind of like strapping a rocket to a rocket and asking it to kind of leapfrog to the moon. Now, is it doable? Analysts at Telegon, they're going to say maybe 2028. Skeptics, of course, will chuckle, bulls will roar, Bitcoin maxis will just sip tea. And it's a classic kind of split dinner kind of party, if you will. But Let me rewind to a tiny personal anecdote, right? 2 years back, I attended a crypto meetup at a kind of dimly lit Dubai cafe. Now, some people kind of bragged about stacking millions of meme tokens. Others quietly kind of loaded up on utility plays like XRP. Now, one guy, call him Wallet Whisperer Sam, told me that he'd rather own a smaller pile of something with real-world rails than a mountain of vapor. And at that time, XRP sat at 47 cents. He kind of slid his phone across the table. Balance read 80,000 XRP. Now fast forward, Sam's paper worth is inching towards 175k. And, if $20 comes, you guessed it, he would slot somewhere between $1.6 million and $2 million, all from that one bold Café confession. But let's zoom out. The challenge that we all face is beyond just price predictions. Is FOMO versus kind of fundamentals, right? Every bull narrative, it sounds golden, right? When you're kind of scrolling late night at night. But so if I wanted to hit these kind of hard numbers and not just hopium, right? That's kind of why I cracked open the rich list stats and stared, layering them tranche by tranche, right? 50 to 75,000 XRP wallets, right? That's around 27,119 addresses. So 50k to 75k XRP, right? And that's at $20, that puts them at $1.5 million each, right? 75k to 100k XRP, there's 11,019 addresses. Flip that to $20 XRP and you'll kind of be eyeing up $1.5 to $2 million. 100,000 to 500,000 XRP. That's a beefy 28,301 wallets. If $20 hits, you're talking $2 to $10 million. The move over, boss, I'm kind of buying the company kind of zone, right? If you add all of them together, that's roughly 66,000 potential feel-good stories. Toss confetti. But also, remember, wallets, they are not people. Some exchanges and custodians, they skew the count. Plus, plenty of holders scatter bags across multiple addresses. So real-life millionaires might be fewer, or, depending on kind of forgotten old wallets, quietly more. Now, I can practically hear you all typing. So, should I go and buy 50,000 XRP right now? And you can cue the dramatic record scratch. But of course, like I've mentioned before, I'm not really an editor. And since I don't really have an editor and I do all the editing myself, I'm not going to do that. Anyway, that is kind of where our friendly neighborhood disclaimer comes back up to the top to play, right? I'm just a storyteller with a Wi-Fi connection and 2 cameras and a light, right? Now, the bigger question here is risk tolerance, right? Dropping 100 grand in overnight. Now, for many, that's school tuition, that's mortgage cash, or a very tidy retirement cushion. Crypto's gnarly roller coaster can flip stomachs faster than Dubai's skydiving freefall. And speaking of cushions, of course, if you do dive deeper into XRP or any particular coin, you're going to do yourself a favor here and hang out in communities that actually teach you stuff. Now, our free educational Discord server is linked down below. You can pop in, you can lurk a bit, share some memes, ask some questions. There's no paywall for core chats, I promise. Right? There are, of course, membership levels and there's different areas if you want to kind of contribute to the channel. Now, the smarter the crowd, of course, the less lonely the market swings actually feel. And if you're kind of actively trading, and I've been kind of test driving Blowfin's crypto exchange. Full disclosure, you probably saw the little sponsored logo at the beginning of the video. That's because of this segment right here. Now, the link in the description down below is an affiliate link. And if you sign up, it supports the channel at no extra cost to yourself. So if you've got some kind of trading ideas, they've got a slick, perpetual kind of contracts. They've got a surprisingly intuitive UI, and they didn't pay me to say slick. But hey, slick is slick. Why don't you check it out if you're curious? All right, let's get back to the hero's journey, because what's crypto without a narrative arc then, right? And Act 2 is the tension, regulatory fog, right? XRP famously kind of tangoed with the SEC over whether it is a security or not. Now, July's 2023 partial victory kind of it rallied up the balls, right? But appeals kept lawyers busy and traders a bit twitchy. So $20, it won't materialize if liquidity dries up on the US exchanges. Yet global corridors from Southeast Asia remittances to Latin America kind of payouts, they just keep growing. So Ripple's on-demand liquidity volumes quietly keep pushing billions in 2024. And if that kind of matures, each cross-border hop is a tiny vote for higher price floors. Stats time. Let's stir in the stat that I love. At $20, XRP's fully diluted market cap would hover around $1 trillion, assuming roughly 50 billion circulating supply by then, of course. Now, for comparisons, Apple is sat near kind of 2.9 trillion earlier this year. So $1 trillion doesn't actually sound bonkers. Plus, it doesn't actually represent any real capital. It's just a theoretical valuation. An emphasis on theoretical, right? Market cap is only showing you price at a macro level, right? It doesn't show you capital inflows, doesn't show you liquidity, it just shows you a theoretical valuation. And so don't get too caught up by market cap, which is why I love it as a stat. So we got to think about what moves price, because what price does is dictates the market cap. So does it assume that crypto is an asset class that kind of keeps eating kind of mind share, right? Regulatory clarifies, utility kind of rises, and we don't kind of blow ourselves up with leverage along the way, right? If we can do these things, then we're in a pretty decent position. Now, some people will scream it's impossible to reach $1 trillion, and others will whisper it's inevitable, right? And the truth is, as always, it kind of hides in the gray area, understanding that market cap is just a byproduct of price, that we actually should be focusing on what moves the price, which is the supply and the demand. All right, it's time for a climax. Now, my own aha moment researching this particular piece. Now, after hours of spreadsheets, I realized that the millionaire math is seductive but incomplete, right? What happens after the fireworks? You've got taxes, you've got security of 7-figure bags, you've got emotional whiplash when portfolios yo-yo hundreds of thousands daily. A friend from that kind of same cafe, let's call her 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗰𝗍, once kind of watched her net worth swell to 7 figures during 2021's alt rally, then shrank below half in months past. Now, she told me that the millionaire title felt hollow because she never actually cashed it out, afraid of missing the real top. And the lesson here is that an exit plan matters more than the actual confetti. So how might one craft a sanity into a $20 scenario then, right? Some kind of set tiered sell orders, maybe peel off 10% of $5, 10% at $10, and so on. And that's my way of doing it. Others kind of borrow stablecoins against their holdings to avoid selling. Risky, but tax efficient in certain jurisdictions. Then there's, of course, the kind of stonic, I'm riding this to $100 or zero kind of crew. Now, no approach fits all, right? But every approach requires awareness and, of course, discipline. Now, let me sprinkle in just one last metaphor, right? Treating crypto like surfing. You wax your board, that's your research. You pick a promising wave, that's your asset. You paddle with conviction, that's your entry. And then, crucially, you decide when to stand up, right? Crave or bail, before the curl crashes, right? Now, ignore the ocean's force and you're going to end up in a soggy kind of, or at least as a soggy ragdoll. If you respect it, well, you might just catch the ride of a lifetime. Now, before we wrap up today, here's a quick rapid fire of thoughts. Now, if you're aiming for that magic 50,000 XRP, but your budget equals a Netflix subscription, dollar cost averaging is going to be your friend. Now, security first, hardware wallets over exchange parking lots, unless of course you're actively trading. You can check out Ledger, which is what I use, via the link that's also in the description. Now, mental health check here, right? Markets open 24/7, but your brain, it does in fact need some sleep. I literally schedule no chart weekends to avoid living in candlestick prison. Now, education never ends. Bookmark Ripple's quarterly reports, dig into on-chain metrics, and join our free educational Discord server for the cheat sheets and the nerd debates. All right, let's tie all this this up in a nice little neat bow, right? The dream of tens of thousands of new XRP millionaires hinges on the perfect storm: regulatory clarity, sustained adoption, broader macro tailwinds, and yes, a healthy dose of crowded psychology. Now, could $20 happen in 2028? Possibly. Could it stall at $5? Also very possible. So the only certainty here is uncertainty, and your ability to navigate it with eyes wide open.